Alrighty, everybody. Pasha Marlowe here. This is the Let Pleasure Be the Measure podcast. And when I designed this podcast, I had an experience in mind, much like the one we are going to walk into in a moment. An experience of somebody who embodies pleasure and desire and creativity and empowerment. I love this man, Alexander James. You are the first man, Alexander, to be on the podcast. And I'm so thrilled and honored that you are here. I love your energy. I love your style. If you are listening to this podcast, I beg you to also go to YouTube and watch it on video, because just to see Alexander is a gift. He's so fucking fabulous every day, but right now he's wearing, it's the jumper with the off the shoulder and just awesome. And then in your honor, Alex, I decided to put in a red streak of hair and my red glasses. And then I found my Cleopatra earrings because I just wanted to wake up and play. And that's what you invite. So I love this about you. So welcome to the podcast, Alex.
Whoa. Oh, hello, and thank you for having me here. Oh my God, I'm just like bubbling and bursting with excitement to be here. This is so fun. And when I logged on and I saw your hair and your glasses, I was like, whoosh, she's bringing the fire energy. I love it. So absolutely, anybody who's listening to this, go see it, because the visual energy, the visual frequencies are part of the transmission. Yes, you get it through our voices, but both of us are such powerful visual creators that we create little visual frequencies for you to bathe in as well. So I'm excited about that.
Bathing in the frequencies. I love that image. So I met you through another coaching session, another coaching client, and I was fired up by how in a minute, maybe even 30 seconds, I think you came in with a different idea of what you're going to talk about. And you so quickly read the room. I think there were 6 or 7 women in the room. And then instantly you went into, we're going to claim our desires and we're going to get rid of shame. And you were like, you busted through all the levels right away. And you spoke to us at exactly the right time and exactly the right way. At least for me, it just really touched me. And I appreciated how you held beautiful, safe, and empathetic space for even challenging topics like sexual trauma and sexual violence. And I do that too. I go right to those places. And so I appreciate that about you. And I want to ask you a million questions. But first of all,
yes, do it.
Tell us what you do. Cause I read you're the Queer Carl Jung. What does that mean?
Okay, so let's hop into it. And here's the thing, I want to start off by saying something really funny about that session. So the session that I attended with you was supposed to be an interview. So the coach that we were with, she was supposed to be interviewing me in front of you all. And I don't know if you remember, but her internet kept going down.
Yes, I do.
And so she couldn't log into the room, so she couldn't interview me.
That's hilarious. And you just took over.
Yeah, so I was like, it's my house now. We get to do whatever I want.
Oh, you own the room, and they'd be fools not to hire you for whatever they were trying to hire you for. But it was brilliant.
So fun. So yeah, I just, in that state, I just dropped in and was like, let's hear what you all want. And going through the room, I just saw like clearly all these beautiful, magnificent beings, including you, have been brought here to empower women, create amazing, powerful, safe spaces for them to claim their desire, which is really something that's so integral to my work, both in my life and in the work I give to people. So here we go. It was divinely inspired. So you said I'm the Queer Carl Jung. Yes, that is correct. And what I mean by that is I am a pioneer and an explorer of consciousness. Mm-hmm. And so in a lot of the modalities that are popular today in the coaching community, we're very focused on conscious thought, right? So what's the thought that's creating this experience for me? What's the, what am I feeling, and what's the thought that's creating that feeling? And this has been, learning those tools has been some of the most empowering work of my life. And we got a lot of subconscious stuff going on.
Yes.
That isn't available to us in our conscious minds. So if you don't know that you have an underlying belief, then you can't work it. And so Carl Jung is kind of prolific for his study of the subconscious mind, for archetypes, for symbolism, for metaphor, dreams, all of these things. And so much of the work I do pulls from his work in making the unconscious conscious so
Mm-hmm.
that we can then work on it on a deeper level.
And where did you learn about quantum healing and quantum physics? Where did you study?
Yeah. So it's interesting because I was studying it before I realized I was studying it, which
Yes,
is
I get that.
how sometimes these miracles occur. So
Yes.
the first kind of step into this realm was through a training program called accomplishment coaching, which is very specifically a branch of ontological coaching. That's a big word for an easy concept, which means it's just the study of one's being.
Okay.
So when I work with people, what's not important to me is what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
What's important to me is who you are being
Mm-hmm.
about what you're doing. And a little bit before you and I got started on the call, you were telling me that some of the most radical shifts that you've been having in your life and your business and all the success that you're experiencing and all of just this like this renaissance of energy that you're having in your life has so much to do with who you are being
Yes.
about your business and about what you're doing, right?
Yes.
That
I
pleasure and that desire.
and you were the first person who understood how I can possibly tie together marriage and family therapy, holistic personal training, into comedy, into life coaching, into pleasure. Like, it's all desire. I'm like, yes, yes, it's all
Mhm.
desire. And I was like, thank you. Thank you for seeing me and understanding that and appreciating the value behind that progression and transformation. So yes, yes.
Totally. And so that's like really one of my favorite things about my work is
Mm,
excuse me, I really look at myself as an identity integration specialist.
okay.
So many of us have these different fractured parts of ourselves that we don't feel like can coexist. So it's like, oh, I'm like really spiritual and really like elevated and, have all these spiritual practices. And like, I'm like a wild kooky slut in the bedroom. I'm super kinky. I just
Uh-huh.
like, have all of these like wild fantasies and all this intense sexual desire. Like, and then we talk about business. And it's like, oh, I can't bring my spirituality in my business. I can't bring my kink into my business.
Introducing Alexander.
Hello.
Oh, yes, you
It's not
can.
true. Yes. And so many of us feel like, okay, there's professional me, and then there's the intelligent me, and then there's the flirty, attractive me, especially women, right? I said weird. They're very taught to separate your like powerful, intelligent self from your flirty, attractive self, and then separate that from your sexual self, and then separate that from your professional self. And all we end up with there is just like all these shards of identity
Yeah.
that feel like they have nowhere to land in our lives. And so much of the work I do in this ontological work is getting to this root, this
Mm.
core essence of your being and finding and distilling so deeply who you are into one concept. Like for you, it was like desire that just rang, and you were like, oh, that's the thing that's behind every part of me.
Yes.
Right. And that's why my work gets into like holistic branding,
Mm.
because the old method of branding is like, okay, let's take one of those shards, like, oh, you're going to be the kinky coach. Okay, now go do your kink thing. And all you coach people on is sex and da 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 da. And I believe that, when you look at a brand like Coca-Cola, they've distilled the essence
Mm-hmm.
of what their product is in a
Mm-hmm.
way that is not limiting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's refreshment.
Right.
Every time you see a Coca-Cola commercial, it's the bottle opening, right? You see, you hear the bubbles. It's always summertime in the Coke universe because people need to be refreshed in the summer, right?
So hot. I need a Coke.
Exactly. And so they've really distilled it down to refreshment. And then if you look at a lot of the subconscious subliminal marketing that they're doing,
Mm.
the the um the bottle, for instance, red and white, a
Mm-hmm.
peppermint, what could be
Mm-hmm.
more refreshing than a peppermint? So
Mm.
even if you
Interesting.
don't even know what a Coca-Cola is, you want a refreshment, right?
Yes.
You want to be refreshed. And they're geniuses, and this is why they're geniuses, is because soft drinks used to be called refreshments.
Yes.
And so they are like, oh, this is clearly the essence of what this bubbly, sugary little drink is. So we're going to take that and we're going to make that our brand. It's just refreshment. And so obviously Coca-Cola sells like brown cancer water.
Yeah. I know.
But
Aside the fact we never want to drink it. They're
exactly.
fantastic
Their
in their
branding. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and think about that, right? If somebody can sell you brown water and make $38 billion a year, I looked it up the other day, $38 billion a year, brown bubbly shit water that like gives you cancer. Like, imagine how much money we should be making as healers.
Heck yeah. Yes.
You know, just imagine that. So it all comes back to kind of tie this little rabbit hole. It all comes back to identity integration work and one's being. That is really, who are you being about your coaching business, and how do you distill that beingness, that essence core, in a way that expands you? You find the brand that lets you expand, as opposed to having to fit yourself into a box of one of these shards of identity. You get to be it all and you get to have it all.
Yes, I love that expansiveness. And you mentioned at one point in that last session we did together, if there's too much, too soon, too fast, even pleasure, that it can become trauma. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm doing too much. The podcast and the book and the changing my personality and changing my hair, like changing my marriage. What am I doing too much? And it still feels in alignment. But how do you weigh that, and how do you know when it's too much? And I can't even believe you're saying too much. Like, I'm just like, I would need to understand this. What do you mean too much, too fast?
Totally. So we are these boundless, amazing, expansive, infinite, energetic beings that have been crammed into these tiny little bodies with nervous systems, right? And so part of the rules of playing the game in this realm is knowing how the nervous system operates.
Mm-hmm.
So the example I give of this is like tickling, right? A little bit of tickling can feel good, but too much tickling, too much of that stimulation, and we begin to, even though we're laughing and we're like, ha 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 ha, we're like, no, stop, 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 stop.
Yes.
And so too much pleasure can overwhelm the nervous system.
Okay.
It's like too much input.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's two things I want to talk about here, right? The first is consent.
Yes.
That is so deeply a part of the work I do, because as beings in this world, and it's especially if you've been socialized as a woman, we're really not taught to check in with our own consent and to really like ground in and tune in to like, what do I want, right? So often our focus is, what do they want? What do I need to do to make them happy? What will be pleasurable for all of the people around me? What's going to make everyone else? What's just going to like, you know, what's going to be the social lubricant here? What's going to like have it not rock the boat? And in doing so, we make our focus not our own inner consent, but the protecting the feelings and emotions, or managing the feelings and emotions of all the people in our sphere. And so much of what we're taught is that that's what makes us good people. And for women, that's what makes you a good woman, a good wife, a good mother.
And that people pleasing is a trauma response. So it all comes back to that trauma.
Totally. A fear of abandonment, right? Yeah. If I'm not constantly creating pleasure for everyone and pleasing, right? This is how it ties back into pleasure. If I'm not just being a pleasure machine for everyone else and stuffing what I want down deep inside to a place where I can't even find it, then I'm going to be abandoned and I won't be loved.
Yes. And you said you had two things. One was consent. What was
the other? So one is consent.
I'm listening.
Yes. Hold on. There might be one more thing I want to say about consent. So building, I remember what the second one is now, but building our ability to feel into our own consent and own our yes and our no, and learning boundaries.
Yes.
It is the first step to owning our desire, because the difference between a consensual experience and a non-consensual experience is the desire.
Yes.
Right? Something that could be amazing, if it's not consensual, becomes traumatic.
Absolutely.
And so if we aren't able to even know where our consent is, we're constantly re-traumatizing ourselves all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's the first piece I want to put in. The second is, as we're looking at desire and pleasure and thinking, well, too much, like, oh my gosh, like, can I really, like, pleasure really is a bad thing. I knew it all along. I'll just stay far
I
away,
didn't
right?
deserve it. I shouldn't have it.
Exactly. Exactly. Our nervous systems, are you familiar with Wim Hof at all?
I am, with the
Okay.
cold
The
water and
cold
lying in the
exposure
snow.
therapy, and
Yes.
yeah, it's
Yes.
a little intense, but I like to think of that as a perfect example of
Mm.
what we can do with pleasure, right? So Wim Hof suggests that you start off with a shower that's, 5 minutes long or whatever, where you're doing his breathing techniques that's like maybe 5 to 10 degrees cooler than
Yes.
what you normally do, right? He's not telling you to go jump into the Antarctic Ocean and swim for 45 minutes.
Right. Right.
So for many people, and especially women, our pleasure feels terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
feels scary to own what we want.
Mm.
And receiving pleasure, there's so much trauma around receiving, because before, especially when we don't know our consent and we don't know our boundaries, we've received and it's
Yes.
been traumatizing. So the thing I say is, don't suddenly decide that, like, I'm leaving my marriage and I'm quitting my job and I'm doing whatever I want. I'm going on the road, right? And if you want to do that, do that. And that's, you check in your consent and you get 2 thumbs up, like, go live it. I love it.
Right.
But what you might find is
Mm-hmm.
that level of pleasure in your life actually creates this deep anxiety and this whiplash. And I've experienced it in my life, is I'm like, ooh, I wasn't ready to receive that much.
Yes.
And you have to work up the tolerance of this sounds insane, but you
I
have
get
to
it.
work up the tolerance of your nervous system to experience pleasure safely.
Yes. Yes. This very much resonates. Yes.
So it's about that cold exposure therapy. It's like, ooh, maybe you start with the chocolate bar, right?
Mm-hmm. I
And
can do
then
that.
exactly. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna let myself enjoy this chocolate bar, and I
While I'm in the cold
am
shower, or while I'm swimming
whatever
in the main ocean, I eat those.
whatever gets you off, honey. Whatever gets you off, you do it your way, right? But I'm gonna eat this chocolate bar, and I'm not gonna beat myself up about the calories, because that's a
Mhm.
way that our subconscious mind will cut off the pleasure, right? And I watch it happen with
Absolutely. That's
all the
shame.
time. It's the
Mm-hmm.
shame, it's the guilt, it's the I'm doing something wrong, I'm bad, right? So it's like, I am going to intentionally eat this chocolate bar and just savor it and enjoy it and not fucking think about all of the things I've been taught to think about chocolate and eating and what it means to enjoy something in my mouth
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
has dairy or sugar or calories or whatever it is, right?
Right.
And then you work up from there to like
Mm-hmm.
these ecstatic states of bliss, but it's not something that you jump into willy-nilly,
Mm-hmm.
because that can really trigger some backlash and it can have you close off. So it's about doing it in a way that's slow, safe, and steady. I say fast is slow and slow is steady.
I love it. I love it. And it makes so much sense that it's like a little, sprinkling it in, and then like putting our toe in the water, and then allowing ourselves to maybe get in the water, get in the cold shower. And then maybe you jump in the ocean, and then maybe you're rolling in the snow. But yes, you don't want to just jump right in to the snow and assume that it's going to be pleasurable just because you watch other people receiving pleasure from it. So this makes complete sense to me. And all of my friends and family who are witnessing what's going on with Pasha is what they say. This weekend, if you don't know, a book is coming out, and it's called My Next Husband Will Be a Lesbian, that I wrote.
Oh
And
my God, that's amazing.
thank you.
Oh my God. I need to order a copy of that for someone in my life. That's so
Oh,
good.
good. It's been in my head for 5 years, Alexander. For 5 years, I've had this voice in my head going, my next husband will be a lesbian. And at 50 years old, I finally said that out loud. So that's been almost a year. And I haven't even come out as bisexual to my friends and family outside of my husband. So the book that comes out this weekend is me coming out. And
Surprise.
and this podcast will happen after that, so people will know by then. But 5 years ago, when I wanted to do this, I couldn't have been able to receive even whether it was negative or positive feedback or the pleasure or the celebration, I just wasn't ready to receive it. So I had to start with um, allowing my voice to be heard, starting to tell other truths, starting to embody my emotions, starting to learn to play, learn to laugh, invite in more people like you who would have scared the shit out of me even a year ago. I've been like, I'm not even worthy to talk to this person. He's so cool and fabulous. I have no right to even ask him to do my podcast. And it has taken so fucking long to get to the point where I feel worthy of the pleasure and desire I see other people experience. And to see somebody like you seemingly so easily able to access it, I have to ask when this all began, and when you were a child or a teenager or young adult or whatever it was there a time where you felt not at peace with your body, not safe? I want to know what that transition was, and how you came to be able to be you in this being you are.
Oh my goodness. So this is $1 million question. This is so good because I do think, oh, we got a little fly in here. I do think that people look at me and
Yes.
they think I'm just like some freak anomaly. They're like, well, he was probably just born with like too much serotonin and like he's just bubbly. He's just that way. He's just like Mr.
Yes.
Happy Pants, Happy Dance, like blah blah
And
blah blah.
fantastic parents who accepted everything you did and told you to celebrate everything. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
totally. Plot twist, my parents are missionaries.
hold on,
And
I gotta sit
so,
down. No, this is really good.
yeah, exactly.
I'm
And
so glad I
so,
asked this question. Do tell.
yeah, I grew up in traveling to Africa, traveling to Central America, spreading the good word, like really steeped in a lot of the patriarchal and suppressive ideologies
Yes.
of modern day Western Christianity. And yet, so much of those experiences are what I draw from now because I really feel like I still feel very connected to the spiritual archetype of the Christ consciousness.
Mhm.
And he's a little radical and a little rebel. He'd give a
Okay.
fuck. He was just like, fuck all of you religious people. I'm going to go hang out with prostitutes. I'm like, okay, I can get down with that. Like, cool. Same, same. So people look at me and they think, oh, well, you're just a special snowflake. Like, you're just built that way. And
Exactly.
the truth is that, I mean, it's so interesting that you mentioned the body. I guess I just want to go down that road because
Yeah.
I spent all of my 20s staring in a mirror, picking at every single pore, every single hair, looking at every single muscle on my body or lack of muscle on my body, looking at my penis size and my butt and like everything you could imagine, even my calves, that was like became an obsession. It didn't matter. It was like the stupidest stuff. I was like the back of my kneecaps, whatever. I was,
We
I
all resonate
was
with this. Yes.
Totally. It
Yes.
was like if it wasn't one thing, it was the other thing. And then I started getting plastic surgery. And then I like realized like, oh, that didn't solve anything. Like,
Mhm.
because if it's
Mhm.
not my lips, then it's my jawline. If it's not my jawline, then it's like the width of my hips. And if it's not that, then it's whatever. So I like
Yes.
went down that pathway for a while of trying to modify the body. And I was into CrossFit. And then I gained like 25 pounds of pure muscle and I was ripped. And I spent even more time staring in the
Mm.
mirror and being like, well, this muscle isn't symmetrical, but that muscle, and like, oh, now like my calves are out of proportion to my thighs and da 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 da. And I just got to this point where I was like, this is never going to end.
Right. Right.
Like, you can't solve this problem. You can't solve self-love from the outside in.
Nope. No, you cannot.
It always gets solved from the inside out. And so I guess I'm going down that tangential route because it ties into even last year in my business, right? I was trying so hard to be, quote unquote, be a six-figure coach and act like one and be professional and like, I'm gonna be Tony Robbins and blah, 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 blah. And trying
You
to
are
find myself.
so far energetically
Yeah,
from Tony. I love it. I love it.
totally,
I
totally.
so much prefer to hang out with you. I'm just saying.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I fully received that. Yeah, and that's the thing is like Tony Robbins isn't for everybody. And the people who Tony Robbins is for, that's why there's a Tony Robbins in the world, right?
Yes.
is because he activates and unlocks something. And that's why there's a you in the world, because
Mhm.
you activate and unearth something. And that's why there's a me in the world. And
Yes.
so,
Yes.
so much of my journey and even healing the my relationship with my body, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper, even over these past 6 months, has been just allowing me to be in the miracle of who I am.
Mhm.
And even being able to say those words is like, oof,
The
2 years ago,
miracle of who you are.
that is not how I was relating to myself at all.
Mhm.
But it's so funny because so much of what we think keeps us
Mm.
from being loved
Mhm.
is the thing that's the underlying shame,
Mhm.
that it's the shame that's keeping us from being loved, the shame about those things that keeps us hiding, that keeps us trying to do it someone else's way, that keeps us from not showing up. I was just convinced that, like, well, I can't just be like bubbly and weird and wacky and fun and intelligent and super genius and taken seriously and an absolute pioneer in my field and well respected and paid incredibly large sums of money to coach people. Like, those two
Mhm.
ideas were fractured, and it literally, I can tell you, the exact moment that I was just like, I'm going all in. Like,
Go for tell me
all,
tell me the moment. Tell me the moment.
all of the spiritual stuff, right? I had just finished what I now am referring to as my modality, or one of the modalities I work with, of quantum healing coaching,
Mhm.
which allows us to access deeper subconscious states through the use of psychedelics, micro amounts of psychedelics. And I had just kind of like accidentally discovered this by coaching someone while we were in a ceremony together. And
Accidentally
then
discovered psychedelics in a coaching session.
totally, well, I accidentally discovered coaching in a psychedelic session.
Oh, coaching in a psychedelic session. Got it. Got it. Okay.
Right. And so, like, I'm just like never not coaching.
Right.
And this was a good friend of mine. And, we've been talking about their money stuff for a long time. And they were super resistant. They were just like, no, blah, 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 blah. I can't have money. And, X, Y, and Z, money's bad. Blah, 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 blah. Like, and I just could never get through to them. So I was like, whatever. And then for some reason, my intuition guided me to go back in that state, and I started coaching them. And it was just like they received it and they got it. And that week, their business filled up. They hadn't had a single consult all year, and it was December. So nothing. They'd just been working their 9 to 5 job. Nothing happened. And they didn't change anything, right? They didn't put out more marketing. They didn't whatever. But energetically, something shifted that allowed them to receive the pleasure of receiving money. They energetically became open, and they had clients booking sessions that week. And I was like, wait a second. What's
Whoa.
going on here? What is this?
Let's do that again.
Yeah, like, let's figure this out, because coaching is such a new sort of
Yes.
modality. And we say it's new, but it's actually like older than time, right? I think Jesus was a life coach. But it's having a renaissance, and we're discovering new modalities of technology. So I'm really into meshing them. But I had this integrative experience during that same session, because I was hearing the coaching I was giving, and it
Mm-hmm.
was integrating on a deeper level within me. And
Mm-hmm.
so I came out of that session and I was like, this is my business. It's
Yes.
mine. I get to be whoever I want to be in my business, because I am the one who builds my business, like, built to measure for my pleasure
Yes.
is how I think of my
Soundbite.
business, right? And so all of the spiritual woo stuff came out. Like,
Yes.
I'm a channel for some being, I don't know who it is or where it's from, but it has really fucking good ideas about money. So I'm just like sharing that with the world in my stories. And I'm being all of me, and I'm expressing my queerness through my clothing, and I'm being
Yes.
the unbridled bundle of joy. And that was the moment. Literally, I did that. And that's when I have my $100,000 week in my business, right? Week. And this is coming from someone, right? I launched a program. I was like, this is the program I want to do. I want it to be called the 16 Keys of the Subconscious Mind. Like, all of this stuff that had just been hidden within me. That's like, no, you can't talk about that stuff. That's too weird. That's too esoteric. That's too spiritual. Like, you can't be like a spiritual coach. What do you think you are, a guru? Like, no, just like be this like little cookie cutter, use the same fonts everyone else does, and like follow the checklist of like what you learned of how to make people interesting, all that stuff.
So boring. I read just this morning before meeting up with you on your Instagram no link tree, no this, nothing. Literally all you go directly to one link and it says, this is the application to get on the wait list for my one-on-one program. It's 4 to 6 months, $10,000. I only accept 10 people based on these 3 questions, go. And I'm like, what? Like, this was like, you just laid it out there so boldly, confidently, simply, so simply, it shocked me. I was like,
Yeah,
it gets to be that easy and clear.
totally.
That's
When you
fantastic.
own your desire, right? There's no like, well, let me fluff them up and let me soften it. And like, it's like either you know this is the experience for you or not. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
fine either way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to pull in people who aren't like, yes, people go on and there's a shock. And that's part of the way I designed my application process was to facilitate a breakthrough because people are so unused to someone just being in that state of just owning their power and owning their desire that people log in and everyone's like, whoa, I was shocked. Like you just led with the price. And
Absolutely
it
right.
was,
Nobody says the price in writing. You're supposed to get on the call and all the games and all the yes. I really appreciated it, and I really want to know what those 3 questions are. But that's probably nothing you're going to share until you push the button. But
well,
anyway,
and that's the point, right? Because you don't even
yes.
know anything about my program, right? And there's no way to find anything out about my program until you fill
Woo.
out the application, which is something that I designed because I was like, I want people who are led by their intuition and who
Yes.
are willing to do things that don't make sense because
Yes.
that's so much of how I coach is I'm like, what's your intuition saying? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just here to support you and tapping into people's wisdom. And so I launched that. And there was the building and there was the da 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 da, but when the money dropped in, right, that was like 2 or 3 weeks of like sending out the applications and going through the application process, blah, 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 and the money all dropped in within a week. And it was like 10 new applicants, 10 people paid in full. And then we just went through it and now they're all fucking, I mean, dude, we don't even have time, but
The
just the stuff that's
transformation. I
before their first call. Cause
yes. Yes,
yeah,
they pushed the button, they and their intuition led them there and they said yes. And before your first call, they've already transformed. Just saying
totally,
yes.
totally.
Ah.
Because, and I actually want to put this in, I want to tie into our conversation around desire
Mhm.
because integration and acclimation are 2 of the most key phases of all of this work, any self-growth work or any growing into your desires and what you want, right? It's like you need to take time after you receive, whether it be coaching, pleasure, upgrades, whatever it is, to just sit and integrate them into your nervous system.
Mm.
And I think in the coaching industry, we get very tied up into this. Okay, what's your next goal? Go, 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 go.
Mhm.
And when we don't integrate and upgrade on an identity level, like,
Yes.
oh, now I'm a coach who's like, I'm $100,000 coach. Like I'm a 6-figure coach. I went from, I had not directly before this, right? I had been working up to this, but 4 months prior to that $100,000 launch, I had 1 client who was month to month at $400 a
Mhm.
month, right? So, and I don't say that because fast is better, but
Right.
what I say it is that I had been doing so much work in those 4 months around integrating every single experience every time I had a new client sign, right? Every time I had a consult that went well, even if they didn't sign, I spent time integrating that and getting my nervous system used to it so that it could energetically handle and be prepared to receive at that level. Because when you don't, you just self sabotage.
Mm. And so beyond celebrating it, integrating it. And for you, does that look like a quiet experience the days after that? Or how does that look for you? The
So
integration.
one of the ways that I integrate, and here's what I say about integration is a practice
Mhm.
and it's an art.
Mhm.
So I believe that art is how we integrate,
Mm.
right? Whether it be through spoken word, whether it be through dance, whether it be through
Yes.
painting, or whatever our expression is,
Yes.
I believe that art is integration and integration is an art. And
Mhm.
so what I do with people in the 16 keys is I really work on their ability to integrate because it doesn't matter how much coaching you're getting and how like stellar the coaching I'm giving them is. If they're not able to integrate it, then like water off a duck's back, like who cares? And so by learning your own individual integration style, you learn how to assimilate information. So for me, I'm hyper visual, like, and for so long I was just trying to use words, and I'm also a poet, so I do like using poetry, but it was like this huge, I had an integration in how I integrate. So I integrated these different pieces of me, and I was like, I've always loved music videos, I've always loved visual albums, I've always loved poetry, and now the way that I integrate is I do these like very complex stories, and like sometimes I'll spend a whole day on one, but in my Instagram, on my stories, I will spend a lot of time creating the visual representation of these breakthroughs in ways that other people can understand too. So I'm integrating it as I teach and as I express.
Yes.
And they say that the best way to learn something is to teach it to someone else.
Absolutely.
So that's my style of integration. But I have some students who are integrating by laying on the floor and being still for an hour.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And
Different
that
for
to them, yeah, that to them is like life changing.
yes.
So I encourage people to just try, like throw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall. Maybe it's being in nature, maybe it's writing, maybe it's music, maybe it's song, maybe it's dance, maybe it's like cooking a meal. Like
Try it all.
try it all and find what works for you and how your system integrates things.
I'm gonna try on a black jumper with the shoulder all the way
Do
up.
it. I love that we both wore black. I had intuitionally, I was like, I feel like we're both going to be in black today.
That's awesome. And I was like, I know he's gonna come in looking fabulous. I gotta find my red glasses. Yes. Oh my gosh, Alexander. Obviously I would enjoy talking to you for hours and hours and hours. I want to thank you for bringing this brilliant, fantastic, fabulous energy and all of your wisdom. I hope we could talk again to continue these conversations because there's so many directions we can go. How can people reach you other than going onto the Instagram and pushing that button? Because I want to know what those three questions are. I might go push
Yes, go push the button. Go push the button. Oh, I keep on saying.
What else can we do?
It's just so funny. Before I tell you that, I like one of my goals with my marketing is to amuse myself, because
Yes.
I'm like, if I'm not having fun in my marketing, you know, I don't even care if anyone else is having fun. I have to have fun, and then the people who think what I think is fun will come, and I'll have fun with them in my business. So I keep saying, hit the linky with your pinky. That's like how I keep selling it, and it just makes me laugh because it's so dumb every single time. But if you want to find me, if you want to discover my work, if you want to bathe in this energetic frequency of celebration and bubbliness and getting to be all of who you are and express yourself with wild colors and joyful abandon, the best place to hang out with me is on Instagram. So I'm at the Subconscious Brand. And that is like my main account. So that's where all of my stories are archived, and you can go through and you can read all of them. I've got tons of channeled information in there. I just try and give away as much as I can for free. And like I said, that's how I integrate. My posts are, the other day I was looking at my archived posts and I was reading something that I had written and I was feeling so coached by it. And I was like, damn, this is good. So my posts are a really fun place to also grow and create information. And you can find me, so that's at the Subconscious Brand. And so I share a lot about branding and how to bring all of you into your brand and how to really create a 1 in a trillion like representation of who you are in business, and really just create from the deepest places of yourself and get to create a business that is made to measure for your pleasure, and get to do it your way, not like finding your formula for success. That's what I'm so crazy about, is like, I've learned so much from so many coaches and so many people, and I've integrated it. And at the end of the day, the biggest energetic jump that I did was when I was like, I have all this information and now I'm going to use it to do things my way. So at the Subconscious Brand on Instagram, follow me, let's be friends, send me a message if you're listening. I love hearing from people and getting DMs, super friendly, as you can tell. And I also have a Facebook, which is Alexander James. You can find me there as well. And my website will be coming soon. which I'm excited about. Of course, I'll announce it on Instagram, but I've created a website that's actually a riddle. So in order to, yes, I don't know if anybody played Zelda as a kid, but I was really into Zelda, and Zelda, yes.
Like in big, that kind of Zelda, like the like fortune teller.
Maybe I don't know what big is, but it was a game on what was it, the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo, and
Okay.
he's this little character who has to like complete riddles, and every level is a riddle, and there's like secret little things that you find, and like a bush that if you press it the right way, suddenly it turns into a key. And so I've created a website that is based off of that. So in order to actually get through to the end of the website, every page has a riddle on it, and you have to solve it to get to the next page.
Like an escape room. This is fantastic.
Yes. It's like an escape room for your consciousness. And once
love
you
it.
get through to the end of the website, you escape the box that you have been put in by society, by the patriarchy, by all of that stuff. So that's coming soon. So follow me on Instagram so you can have fun.
I'm all kinds of goosebumpy and tingly hearing about that. All websites should have more fun. That's incredible, inspirational. Huh, I love playing with you, Alexander.
Oh my God, this has been so much fun. I'm like, every time we get together, every time we talk, it's just this beautiful melange, this cocktail of gorgeous, energetic bliss. So I feel so juicy being here with you.
Thank you for bringing out that juicy bubbliness inside of me that's been hidden for 50 years. For those of you out there who want to continue the conversation with me, feel free to reach out to me. I have a website, pashamarlow.com. Email pasha@pashamarlow.com, and then on Facebook and Instagram and Clubhouse and all the places, Pasha Marlow. This is the benefit of an odd name, a unique name. And then, of course, if you love this podcast, like it, review it, share it, subscribe, all the things. But go to Alexander's Instagram page because it is visually and energetically beyond pleasure. Thank you.
And wait, Alexander. I have a question for you. How can we get your book? Because I want a copy.
My Next Husband Will Be a Lesbian comes out on February 14th to reclaim that stupid holiday for ourselves, for self-pleasure and self-love. And so on Amazon on February 14th, 2020.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to be ordering a copy on that day. I can't wait.
Between now and then, I'm going to try to figure out how to make a TikTok video and do an I'm coming out dance. I got to get on it.
Oh my God, so fun. Well, you are just an inspiration. I just have to say, you're such an inspiration to the liberation that's possible for all people, and especially women at your age. I think people look at me and they're like, yeah, you're like a 30-something gay man. Of course, like gay people can do whatever they want. You know what I mean? Like the rules don't apply to you. And so to see somebody with your life story just reclaiming their fun, their funk, their pleasure, their creativity, it really just, I don't know, it inspires me and it brings me so much joy. And you know, it's liberation. It really is the deepest level of liberation, is living in that juicy joy and desire. So it's been such an honor to talk to you, and to support you any way I can in doing the work that you're doing is just a total, it's my pleasure.
There's no one-way liberation. I am glad we are in this universe right now together. Thank you. My pleasure as well. And we will talk soon. Thank you.
Can't wait.